This video is sponsored by Factor 75. Get fresh, ready-made meals delivered to your doorstep when you sign up with Factor. Their menus are updated weekly. They have seafood, veggie, and keto options if that's what you're looking for. Check my link in the description below and use code FACTORSE10507 for 60% off your first box.
First. This one might be a bit of a long one, so we might have to skip ahead in it, but why the Christian right tried and failed to kill the Respect for Marriage Act, which I believe Biden signed into law today.
Ooh.
Because the conservatives were all freaking out that the White House was lit up in the rainbow.
See, it's agitating me a little bit because we've had a lot of time to not only we've had a few years to get this signed into law. We've had even more time to get abortion signed into law.
The guy who proposed this, Jerry Nadler, I think it was. He's been reintroducing this every couple of years since I think 2009 is when he started. And this is the first year it's actually passed because now it's become apparent that, oh shit, the Supreme Court has gone off the deep end. There's nothing we can do about that. So we better do what we can legislatively before the fucking Republicans take control of the House.
Yeah, be happy that we have the Senate right now. Use it while we can.
Yeah, we need to Mitch the fuck out of the House for the next few years.
Yeah, well, so at least the lead in the House isn't as bad as it could be, and at least it's not the Senate. So
yeah, well, I'm hopeful that. So with the Respect for Marriage Act, a bunch of Republicans actually joined on for that one. So I'm hoping that maybe the Republicans are starting to see, like after the midterm elections, pretty much every candidate endorsed by Trump failed massively.
Evil Dead Guy said, you saw the woman crying over this, right? Evil Dead Guy, that's already a video on my channel. I covered the woman who was crying about this, going, it's not what God would have wanted. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a shit. He's not here.
Anyway, on to this article because it's a long one. So yeah, it's now on its way to the president's desk where he'll likely sign into law on Tuesday. This was published today. This is a brand new article. Hey, I found a new one. I'm breaking news, y'all. Usually I'm a week behind. Yeah, so I think he signed into law today. I love how Rhino's from Canada but seems to know more about U.S. politics. Well, as much as us Canadians
the rest of the world too.
Yeah, so as much as us Canadians like to pretend like, our politics are more important or whatever, the fact of the matter is that the United States is one of the most powerful countries in the world. So whatever happens there affects everybody in the world. So yeah, I keep an eye on it because, I can see Buffalo from my front yard, and not in the same way that Sarah Palin can see Russia. I can actually see Buffalo from my front yard. So it's it's too close.
Yeah, Axolotls in my chat just went, your politics trickle up here.
Yeah, they do. We have our own version of MAGA idiots. We had the truckers convoy occupying Ottawa for a bit. Anyway. So the Christian right has opposed this legislation from its first hours because they fear legislation like this because it signals what might be a very powerful shift in the lines of power. So now we get the history of this. The more I learn about Bill Clinton, the less I like him. It's I was under the impression that he was a pretty good president, and then I learned that he signed RFRA into law, and I was like, oh, that sucks. Well, maybe it was just the one thing. No, he did the Defense of Marriage Act too.
No, you have to remember he may have been a Democrat, but he was a Democrat in the 90s, and progressives were less progressive back then in general. That's the thing about that's the unfortunate thing when you're dealing with.
I know, but those two pieces of legislation together is just a bad.
Oh, I know. I'm agreeing with you. What I'm pointing out is the deep depression I feel whenever I think about the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party largely just follows as best they can uh whatever is currently popular in progressive circles to varying degrees of success. That's typically what you see them do here a lot. So Bill Clinton would be doing the same thing in the 90s. Just like the reason that Biden is so trans positive right now is because that's where the progressive movement sits at the moment.
Yeah, but also like Americans tend to lag behind the rest of the world. Uh, so gay marriage became federally legal in Canada in 2005.
Whereas it technically wasn't. I after what
And then
happened with Roe v. Wade, it's very hard for me to go like, aha, it's been federally legal here for X amount of years
well,
because
it's federally legal because of a Supreme Court decision, which is not the same as having a law saying that it's legal.
yeah, which
Um,
is the
which is
trepidation that
why
I
like
have.
that's why they passed the law now, is because it's become clear that the Supreme Court is like bent on overturning as many of these progressive rulings as they possibly can. So it's like, okay, well, let's make it a law while we can.
If we could
um,
just have a fly on the wall of Alito and Clarence Thomas's rooms, that would.
and we hear them talking about all the kids in KKK robes that they apparently know. That's We're talking about that later. So yeah, so the Defense of Marriage Act basically made it explicit that gay marriage would not be federally recognized. So like states are free to say, hey, you guys can get gay married, but if you go over to this other state, they now have the right to deny you the privileges that you get from being married. Um, so yeah, that's not great,
No,
to
it's
say
one
the
of the
least.
reasons why a lot of gay couples here use the adoption system instead of, like, a lot of times marrying in a state where it was legal wouldn't work for you, but getting adopted in a separate state, those rights carried over, and a lot of times they were identical.
Oh,
That's
like
a
one of the partners would adopt the other one?
Yeah, that was a really common thing here in the states
Huh.
before the Supreme Court law or before the Supreme Court decision is if you were going to live in a state that would not recognize your marriage, then you would use the adoption system, adopt one of your partners as an adult, and through the adoption system, you would gain several of the tax benefits and several of the legal benefits that you normally have under marriage, because a lot of them are cross-purpose and identical here in the states.
I feel like that's a Pornhub category nowadays.
It probably is, and I cannot say whether or not I've seen it.
I haven't seen the gay version of that, but I've definitely seen some straight versions of that. they always
Help me
make sure
step.
to they always make sure to throw the word step in there, because I feel like they've found like this niche where it's like you're appealing to the incest kink, but you're doing it mildly enough that the people that aren't into it can kind of ignore it. So it's just their way of appealing to a broader audience.
Or they could pretend they're ignoring it while they're watching it a lot.
Yet, like, honestly, I'd prefer if they didn't mention step siblings and stuff like that. It's like, no, just don't.
Help me step,
But
Rhino. I'm
it's
stuck.
everywhere. But it's every. Oh, did you see those memes when when that ship was stuck in the Suez Canal?
Yes. I saw a lot of anime versions of that ship. Also, it didn't help that when that was happening, there's a game that was really popular around that time still on mobile. Chat, help me out with this one. I For some reason I can't remember it for the life of me. And it's one that I've played as well. World War II, all of the battleships are anime waifus. Why can't I remember this game I can't remember for some reason.
Help me, step ship. I'm stuck.
Yep. Yep. No, not Cancole. The one that came after Cancole. Azurlane is Azurlane. No, Cancole is the first one. Azurlane is the second one. All the ships are wives.
Anyway, yeah, DOMA was basically repealed in two parts. Not like repealed legislatively, but like the Supreme Court overturned it in two parts. U.S. v. Windsor gave same-sex marriage couples access to federal marriage benefits like Social Security, and then the rest of DOMA was taken out with the Obergefell versus Hodges. I've not had as much beer as my slurred speech would suggest.
It's a performance issue. Don't worry.
No,
Happens to everyone.
I was actually napping when Suris came into my the Zoom call, and the little chime to let me know that someone else had joined the call is what woke me up. So I am like still kind of waking up, and that I guess alcohol is not the greatest for waking up.
It's really not.
So that was
That
probably a
feels
mistake.
like that feels like not forward thinking, but also forward thinking enough.
I thought about making a tea, but then I'm like, the stream starts in 5 minutes. I steep my tea for 4 minutes. Nah.
The logistics just don't work out.
Yeah. So yeah. So now the Respect for Marriage Act basically is just federally all marriages are recognized, except for poly marriages, because we're not that progressive yet, apparently.
There was some progress made on that front in New York, though, recently, which I was happy about.
There was,
but
and I think I'm listen to the opening arguments episode on it if you want the actual details. But I seem to recall that there's something like if you can find a country that will do polyamorous marriages, those marriages will be recognized in the United States at the federal level. If it's from another country, just not another state. So like you can travel to a country that does poly marriages, get poly married, and then come back. And because you got married in that other country, it transfers over. I think. I might be wrong on that part. Listen to the opening arguments episode, because that's a lawyer talking about it. So he knows all the law talking stuff that I don't. So anyway, they have the exceptions built into it. So like it does not affect the religious liberties or conscience protections that are available under the Constitution or federal law. So that's churches can't be forced to perform gay marriages. They don't have to hire gay pastors, whatever. Doesn't require religious organizations to provide goods or services formally to formally recognize or celebrate a marriage. So like if you get gay married and then you go to a church that doesn't approve of gay marriages, they're not going to consider you married, and that's okay apparently. Baby steps, I guess.
I mean, it's if I'm being honest, it's more important that the federal government or the federal and local governments recognize your marriage than the church.
Yeah,
you can just leave a church.
Yeah.
Leaving a state's a bit harder sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely, but it's still like religion has to be dragged into the present, kicking and screaming, and this always happens. This one of the things that I like to point out when people like Frank Turek get on their high horses about progressive Christianity and how dangerous it is. It's like you do realize that if you go back in time a few hundred years, you are a progressive Christian.
Yep.
Go back to the 1600s when the Puritans made celebrating Christmas illegal because it was considered wasteful and sinful and indulgent and non-biblical. And you tell them that the war on Christmas is a war against Christians, and they'll
put you on blast, and then
they'll fine you for celebrating Christmas, because celebrating Christmas is wasteful and indulgent and unbiblical.
I'm pretty certain there were a few instances where you could just kill people at that point.
In the 1600s, yeah, probably.
We had a much more lax look on capital punishment around that time. At the very least, police investigations weren't thorough enough to stop vigilante justice the way that it can now.
Frank Turek put a curse on me. He's a witch.
Did you get better?
Yeah, he turned me into a newt. We did that wrong.
That.
We did that completely wrong. Everybody that knows Monty Python is like, no, you did. Yeah, it's backwards. Which, that's actually ironic, because Monty Python was very well known for their ability to improvise. But then they became, like, they were so popular, and their specific sketches were so popular that when they performed them live, I recall John Cleese telling the story of, like, he forgot his line one time. He just kind of looks out to the audience at line, and they all said the line. It's like, okay. And then he continues on with the show. So it's like, they became well known for being good at improv, but then everybody memorized their lines, so they had to do everything exactly the same way every time. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, there's all these disclaimers that are like, yeah, we're making gay marriage federally recognizable by the government, but like religious organizations are free to continue being bigots if they want. But the religious organizations are still like, hey, they're going to make us perform gay marriages. They're going to make us hire gay pastors. They're going
I've
to
seen
make
that
us
on
recognize
Twitter
gay
a
marriage.
bunch, and it's stupid.
It
It's
is
like they
stupid.
can't read.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they go to a place so that a guy can read to them.
You know what shocked me the most about this? We'll get to this near the end of the article, but the Seventh-day Adventist Church put out a statement, not really approving of this legislation, but basically saying, we're not fighting it. It's fine. They put in the exemptions for us, so we're happy. We can still be bigots. It's like, if the Seventh-day Adventist Church is like, calm your tits, it's fine, then, like, you've gone off the deep end. Because the Seventh-day Adventist Church is the deep end, or was the deep end previously.
At one point, now it's the NIFB.
Oh, God.
Also, Ichigoma, Hanako, thank you so much for the raid. If anybody has not followed Hanako yet, I'm going to go ahead and do a shout out for her real quick. Doop. How was your stream? What were you doing?
Suris got raided, so now he's...
I'm sorry,
changing the subject.
Twitch etiquette. I
know. I've actually been wanting to try out the YouTube raid feature, but I don't know anybody that streams at the time when my stream ends. And damned if I'm going to change what time I stream at.
Well, you know, yeah, you
I could raid you, but you're always streaming with me.
Yeah, pretty much.
It doesn't really work.
It doesn't. Also, for those who are coming in from Hanako's stream, this is my friend Vice Rhino. We more Wednesdays than not these days. I end up over on his stream. So the reason that I'm hiding behind my TV right now is because it's the only way to make me look good on his end. I'll go back to regular VTubery stuff afterwards. But we're going over recent things that happened in the United States, like gay marriage being federally legalized as opposed to just recognized, which is good. No, Striker, it's not my birthday. What? Anyways.
I don't know what's going on in my chat right now. I've got everything you
Lynn
use
Sudoka,
to...
thank you for the follow. And Zemis,
everything you use to not tell the vision from Jesus of the valley shall be removed from you. Blend, do not mix. I am the man of the earth. What the fuck does that mean?
I think he's had more alcohol than you.
Says it means everything. And then Ocean Wave says, I am the woman of the galaxy. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Wesley Curry the second, but you have the second after your name, so you're automatically an asshole, I think.
Cheapest.
Anyway, Naram Deputs tipped $4, says, you are currently reading a self-referential message, which I assume that's referring to itself rather than actually saying that I'm, like, the article is self-referential. Naram Deputs often gets me with, like, these simple jokes that, like, if you don't think about them very much, they make perfect sense, but then I put too much thought into them and end up way off the deep end.
I hate Twitch. Says, I'm not Christian, but the Bible says nothing about supporting gay marriage, so why force churches to support non-religious marriages? So, fun fact, I hate Twitch. If you actually read the contents of the article we're going through, you'd find that specifically churches are not being forced to recognize anything. There's an exemption put in for that, almost as if all of your concerns were already alleviated from the get-go.
We were just about to get into that, actually. Naramdaput says it's because they are neither funny nor clever. No, they often are. I just miss them because I'm not clever. So yeah, ignoring the actual disclaimers that you were just bringing up, the evangelicals' complaint. So like the Heritage Foundation published a thing saying that it would threaten innumerable people and institutions of faith with licensing revocation, loss of government funds, and stripping of nonprofit status. It would do no such thing.
I'm gonna say that just sounds like being boisterous without actually being able to back it up much.
Yeah, they called the act an effort to undermine religious freedom for millions of Americans. I mean, has someone... yeah, no, they did, but I think it kind of petered out. But like, someone needs to just start a religion that is like, gay marriage is the only marriage. Be like, that's our religious freedom.
I hate Twitch says, but you believe they need to be forced? I have a question. When did I say that? I don't remember saying those words. It's more of a I would not care if they were, because if you want to be so it's this way. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
You cannot have, on one hand, hey, we are the church, whatever the church is in this instance, and therefore we are the leaders where marriage is concerned. We are the authority on marriage. You don't get to be that when marriage is a legal distinction recognized by the federal government, and not have the federal government now get involved with your church. Like, if you want to be the authority on something that is put forward with federally recognized tax benefits, then you are now beholden to the federal government. That's what happens. So either churches can go, actually, we're not the authority on it, and back the fuck off and let people be people, or claim they have an authority on something that is federally regulated and therefore be beholden to said federal regulations.
Or they can just keep it separate. Like, just like so many anti-LGBTQ Christians will say that, like, oh, it doesn't matter if the government says they're married. They're not actually married in God's eyes. I'm like, okay, then why the fuck do you care what the government says about it?
Yeah. Like, it's either way.
Like,
my position is mostly I just don't care so long as people have their rights.
Yeah.
Whatever utilitarian method is used to make that come to fruition.
My thing is, if a gay couple or a lesbian couple or whatever other couple that you don't approve of, if them getting married somehow threatens your own straight heterosexual marriage, then that says more about your marriage than it does about the gay marriage. Like,
you cared more about the lesbian porn than you did about your wife.
If two dudes fucking somehow invalidates your marriage to your wife or husband or whatever you are in your heterosexual marriage, then your marriage wasn't that great to begin with. Like, I'm sorry, that's just how it is. Like,
you had some gay neighbors move in and suddenly you became an abusive husband. Like, just a switch got flipped overnight.
Yeah, anyway, so evangelical Christians of the Christian right have been using a warped, redefined version of religious liberty to disguise their theocratic ambitions. Yeah, that's where the RIFRA thing comes in, where, like, anything that is a sincerely held religious belief basically gets a free pass, legally speaking, as long as it's Christian. Because those guys that had to smoke peyote as part of their religion, they still got fired from their jobs, and I think they lost that case. I might be misremembering. I'm sorry.
Which is a really weird thing to happen.
So then Heritage Foundation again says Americans were told that same-sex marriage was about live and let live. It absolutely is. Yet now liberals are going out of their way to undermine the religious freedom of millions of Americans. No matter how the left spins this legislation sets a national policy for same-sex marriage that would declare open season on people of faith. No. Like, two dudes getting married in Nevada doesn't affect the NIFB guy in Florida's marriage.
No, it doesn't. Not to mention, how often have we heard that specific terminology used? It'll be open season on true believers. It'll be open season on Christians.
Yeah, they're using violent language because they want to garner a violent response.
Yeah, I feel
at least
like
that's the way it looks to me.
Every 2 years or so, I hear that phrase specifically. And maybe it might just be because I consume a lot of content from the NIFB, and they like to dabble in that quite a lot. But
ooh.
That's the...
So Blade Runner says, wonder what Focus on the Family is saying about the act. Bet they are thrilled. According to this article, they're actually silent about it. Which is very strange for them. Very strange.
I guess we'll have to see if they take the...
Naramda and Ocean Waves are arguing about eating pizza with a knife and fork. So it's like saying people eating pizza with a knife and fork damages pizza for the rest of us.
But that one's true, though. You fuckers who eat it with a knife and fork are barbarians.
That's what Ocean Wave says. What kind of barbarians eat pizza with a knife and fork?
I hadn't even read that yet. You can now paint us all with a broad brush. All of us hand pizza eaters, we think exactly the same. Or as I like to say, proper pizza eaters.
I eat mine backwards, crust first, man.
I feel as though that's making up for the amount of crusts you didn't eat as a child, and I'm here to tell you.
I know I was never one of those kids. I was never one of those kids. I always ate my crust. I would eat the crust first, Because, that's the reason I do it with pizza. I eat the crust first because I don't like it as much as the rest of it. Like, the crust is just the plain dough. I want the toppings and everything on it. So like you eat the boring stuff first, so you have the exciting stuff to look forward to. I should mention I am a little bit biased in this conversation because Ocean Waves is the person I am dating. Full disclosure, so that's her.
Oh,
But still,
I'm sorry, Ocean Waves.
oh, Wesley Curry's back. I timed him out for a bit. I might let him go for a bit. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, so the SBC is also against the Respect for Marriage Act, and they say their statement is based on a deep, abiding love for our neighbors that leads them to oppose yet another set of human rights. So, like, love for your neighbors leads you to oppose your neighbors getting married?
I mean, the Southern Baptist Convention has kind of a history of this kind of bigotry, though. Like, this is on track for them. The guy I covered on not last night's stream, because I didn't stream last night, but the stream before, was basically going into the Southern Baptist and the Methodist conventions and like the different churches that fall out from them, and how like with the Methodist convention, if a church falls out from them, it's because they're very bigoted, but with the Southern Baptist convention, if a church falls out from them, it's because they're not bigoted enough.
Yeah. So fun fact, SBC back in the 1960s and early 70s put out not one, not two, but 3 statements approving of the Roe versus Wade decision.
What?
Yeah, they were for Roe versus Wade. Let that sink in for a bit. That's not the SBC we know today.
I'm not going to say that I have an entire video on my channel that is a Christian argument for abortion, that is basically, hey, if your goal as a Christian is to get human beings, human lives into heaven, and you believe in the age of accountability, then
yeah,
you don't just agree with
Absolutely.
abortion. You agree with antinatalism.
That is the justification for the genocides in the Bible, is that, like, well, the kids that they killed would have gone straight to heaven anyway, so that would have been a good thing because it saved them from the opportunity to condemn themselves to hell by getting older
grow up
in
as
that
Canaanites,
society.
basically.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, okay, well then you guys should be pro-abortion because those aborted fetuses go straight to heaven. It's that simple. Like, if that's a reasonable justification for genocide, then surely it can be a reasonable justification for allowing women to have bodily autonomy.
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry. I know you guys are having fun with Wesley, but I'm gonna just ban him from my channel. Because, like, he's just spouting nonsense that doesn't make any sense.
He did say he will turn and toss you violently like a ball. That sounds like a threat. It's time to go, then.
And Ocean Waves is having fun with him. The visions of Brahma? Satan's tossing your salad, judgmental cat? Oh, lucky guy. Satan's probably really good at that. I imagine Satan tosses a mighty salad.
King of sodomy and lies.
Yeah.
He should be able to.
Oh, I would let Satan toss my salad. I
can't say shit. I've been saying shit about Monster Girls and Magic the Gathering on Twitter. I can't say anything.
Yeah.
I posted Shieldred and just went, wood.
This article kind of goes into it a little bit, where so it was the Catholics who were the ones that started the anti-abortion crusade. The evangelicals didn't glom onto that until after the Roe versus Wade decision, like significantly later than that. They saw it as a political, like, it was the wedge issue. It's like, if we get everybody fired up on this one issue, then people will vote for the people that we want them to vote for. So it's not actually about abortion, it's about retaining power.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. The United States Conference of Catholic Bishops sent a letter to the Senate saying it was never discrimination. If it was never discrimination, discriminating against gay couples. It was simply to maintain that an inherent aspect of the definition of marriage itself is the complementarity between two sexes. It's like, okay, definitions change, buddy. Like, get with the times. Marriage is a lifelong exclusive union of one man and one woman, and open to new life is not just a religious ideal, it is, on the whole, what is best for society in a concrete sense, especially for children. No, that is objectively wrong. Studies have shown that kids raised in same-sex households do better in pretty much every metric. Not significantly better, but better. So, like, if you want what's best for kids, then we should take kids away from straight couples and give them to the gay couples.
I mean, that would make the adoption process a lot smoother here in the States, at least.
Yeah. And then, I love this, the author of this article follows that up with, yes, because Catholic leaders are so very sensible about how to treat children. And there's, 3 links to, different articles about sex abuse scandals in the Catholic Church. So, this one is the Pennsylvania Grand Jury Report. This one links to gay Catholic orgies? Maybe I should have clicked on that before the stream and,
just to see if it was safe.
And then this one is an article called "The Gaze of Dead Children Follows Me Today." So that's probably with regards to residential schools. Yeah, and dignity and, gestures vaguely at everything, and the vaguely at everything is the Catholic financial scandal emerges totally corrupt financially.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, no, financial corruption is the most moral thing the Catholic Church has ever done.
If we're grading everything on a sliding scale.
Yeah, and so then they go into how, Nixon's Southern strategy, basically, it's backfiring on the Republican Party, because the Southern strategy, if you're not familiar, it was basically the Republicans were like, hey, Southern Democrats or Southern voters who are all a bunch of racists who vote for the Democrats because for a while the Democrats were the party that approved of slavery and didn't want equal rights for African Americans and stuff. Hey, now that the Democrats have passed the Civil Rights Act, you should vote for us. We'll appeal to your racist ideals. The Southern strategy was basically the process by which it was already kind of in the process of flipping between Democrats and Republicans, but this is kind of where
it was the
it
thing that solidified it.
Yeah. And so I like how they say this. So instead of welcoming a bunch of low-life Southern racists into the grand old party and then using them to gain power, the cross-shaped tail ended up wagging the entire dog. I like that. That's whoever wrote this has a way with words that I enjoy. Some of it gets a bit hyperbolic and it's that's a bit much, but I still enjoy it.
Is it not a meta article?
No, it's not having meta. It's let's see. It is Captain Cassidy.
Ah. Well, fair enough. Said our bishop is a bigot, our pastor is a progressive. Jeez.
Sorry, that was Lily. Oh my god, we're only on the first article and it's 9:30.
Yep.
We might have to skip the last article. It's a War on Christmas article. Anyway, yeah, okay, we can skip the rest of this. Basically, gay marriage is now federally recognized across the country. Christian nationalists hate it, but the National Association of Evangelicals released a public support letter for it. An Orthodox Jewish group also released a public support letter for it, and so did the Seventh-day Adventists. Now, they say support. I haven't read the Orthodox Jewish one or the National Association of Evangelicals one, but if there's support in the same sense that the Seventh-day Adventist one is, it's not actually support. It's more, we don't oppose this because they've carved out sufficient exemptions for us to continue being bigots.
Yeah, that's basically them just going, we begrudgingly accept.
Yeah.
Because the terms and conditions, for me to play the MMORPG of life, I must accept the terms and conditions of this federal mandate.
Yeah, basically. But they're just kind of using this to point out that this extreme right wing, anti LGBTQ, anti any kind of progress segment of the population is kind of dying off, and like young people are more progressive. Like yeah, like we go into the stats, like even evangelical, like people who are as like 30% of SBC members, according to Pew's 2015 religious landscape study, said that homosexuality should be accepted. SBC members. That's pretty big.
That's yeah, like what we were talking about earlier with the differences between the Methodist conventions and the SBC.
Yeah.
Like
30%, that's not a majority, but that's a significant amount.
That's enough to care.
Yeah. So like these bigoted groups are kind of slowly dying out. Not as fast as we would need, but also they're in their death throes. They're in a corner, and they, how the animals are, a cornered animal is more dangerous than a free one or whatever. So like,
yeah, which is why we're seeing so much more vitriol in the culture war shit right now.
Yeah, one moment.
Yeah. Robin Needs Bacon says, my hope is that racist fossils die out. Unfortunately, they'll pass their bigotry to their kids before they go. Never in full, though, thankfully.
I mean, not never, but often not.
Like when I say never, I'm not saying like from one parent to another. I'm saying like as a demographic.
Yeah.